Craig Bishop and the Council Roundup.
And the Council Roundup each and every Wednesday, brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch, and don't forget about delivery, Head West Subs. And program notes, next week, Tuesday, is Independence Day, so no council meeting. They'll have their council meeting on Wednesday night, meaning we will cover the Council Roundup on Thursday morning. So just a programming note there. But let's get to last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole, where they tackled all kinds of ordinances. They heard from citizens addressing the committee. They discussed fireworks with Independence Day just around the corner. But let's get right on into it. Here's a high-priced ordinance that's up for consideration from last night's Committee of the Whole.
An ordinance approving payment to Troxel and Company in an amount not to exceed $4,600,000 for property insurance policy for 39 City of Springfield properties for a one-year term for the Office of Public Utilities.
Wow, $4 million to ultimately get this thing approved to ensure a couple of properties, 30-some-odd properties in Springfield for 1 year. And I remember several years ago they discussed about, if this type of thing is bid and what kinds of, insurance agencies there are that could tackle these kinds of properties. And you've got to consider also trying to insure city water, light, and power and the coal-fired power plants. I remember the discussion years ago. That was a tall order to do, so they went ahead and put that on the consent agenda for the upcoming full Springfield City Council meeting. Then you get to several other ordinances. They approved spending for new trucks. They approved spending for paving some roadways through Springfield. But next up, they had an ordinance to appoint a former alderperson to a commission on Springfield city government.
An ordinance approving the appointment of Kristen D. DeCenso to the Springfield Local Liquor Commission.
Move for debate.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Redpath for the debate agenda, seconded by Alderwoman Conley. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion?
She's here. Do you want?
She is here. Would you like to come up and say a few words, or would you like us to keep rolling?
Why not? Keep rolling.
Yeah.
Why don't you come up and introduce yourself?
We missed you already.
For the record, I said keep rolling.
Well, happy birthday, Alderwoman Conley.
And then you get me back.
You're
Thank
still
you.
older than me.
Yes, I
Hello, everyone. It's been a full 8 weeks since I've been here. I didn't expect to be back here so soon, but it's lovely to see you all, and even more lovely to not see my name up there. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Hanauer.
Ms. DeCenso, what experience do you have with bars and alcohol?
It's a good question.
You don't have to answer that. I had to ask.
I like to have fun.
Any real discussion? Alderwoman, thank you for your willingness to serve on the commission, and thanks for being here tonight, and thanks for sending your resume ahead of time. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
again, former
All those in favor
Alderwoman
signify by saying
DeCenso,
aye.
they went ahead
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
moved that forward. But we'll hear a little bit more about this later on with Alderman Roy Williams Jr., who's raised questions about the timing of DeCenso's appointment being so close to her no longer being an alderperson. So we may hear even more about that, not just later on, but even next week when they go to finally approve Alderwoman DeCenso for that spot. Then you get to Alderman Hanauer, who has some questions here concerning some city business that's moving its way through the city council.
31st, 2023, and requested funds in the amount of 75% of the cost, not to exceed $100,000 for the facade rehabilitation and easement at 413 through 415 East Adams Street for the Office of Planning and Economic Development.
Motion for consent.
Again, this is TIF dollars, and there were several ordinances in the same vein. TIF dollars to rehab the facade of some downtown buildings. And they're wanting to modify that, increase the amount of money that these developers are going to get. Alderman Hanauer asked why this is taking so long, and he, of course, gets a response.
Why has it taken longer for this to get done? I guess that's the question. He's asking for increased funds, and he's asking for, I guess, some more time. Is that my understanding?
Director?
Yes.
Alderman Donald, too, can I speak before Director?
Please,
Bell?
Alderwoman.
So I have been in
Alderwoman
contact
Burgess.
constantly with Chris, and he has been waiting for a while, and we had some situations that took place in economic development before Director Yeazel got here. So a lot of times he was just waiting on answers, and I have emails that verify that too. But she's been in constant contact with him since she's been the director now.
So Val Yeazel was there to address these questions about what took so long and why this is an important project that needs to be approved with the extension and the increased dollars.
So this started way back in 21, in the fall of 21. We're, part of the pandemic still. He had the ordinance passed before City Council. He went to go out for a public bid, which is required of our TIP agreements. No bids. He couldn't get any bids. So he got back in touch with economic development and with the mayor and asked, what am I supposed to do? This has never happened before, that you put out for public bid and you don't get anything. So he waited and waited and waited for a long time for an answer. I'm looking here, Chris, if you want to join me here. Let's see, you've got the first bid. Okay, so this was in 21 in November. He got the first bid for facade work September 22.
So the developer was there to address these questions, and we'll just let him kind of lay out where he's at in this project and why he needs the approval of the city council to move forward.
Christopher Nickel. I'm one of on this particular ordinance. I'm one of the members of the LLC that owns. Oh wait, this is 413. I'm one of the members of the LLC, one of the owners for this particular facade ordinance. The reason I wanted to break in, and I apologize, is because there's 3 separate facade agreements that will be discussed.
Yeah.
And this particular one, along with the other small one, we're on a little bit of a different timeline. Her discussion was correct in that I had a lot of trouble getting bids. The first contractor that bid gave me bid on all 3 projects. So we went ahead and started on the 2 small ones, even though it was only a single bidder. I came back to the city, the economic development at the time, and I said, I only have 1 bid, can I move forward? Because typically you're required to collect more than 1 bid and select either the lowest bidder or can't remember the terminology, someone who's qualified, most responsible, right? So I only had 1 bid, should I go ahead? I essentially got the nod that, yeah, since you only got 1 bid, you published it in the paper, there's nothing else to do. So we went ahead and got started on the 2 small ones. Those are actually in the works right now. The large one, however, because the numbers were so much bigger, economic development and the mayor at the time were uncomfortable with me moving forward because we only had 1 bid. There was no way to tell if it was a market rate, and because the numbers were so much larger, it was requested that I wait until I could get a second bid.
So you can see with anybody who's tried to get some work done, finding contractors is pretty painful right now. So it's even hitting whenever they're looking to do facades for historic buildings in downtown Springfield. But after hearing the pleas from the developer, Alderman Ralph Hanauer, he changed his motion from debate to consent.
Alderman Hanauer wishes to change his motion from the debate to the consent agenda. Is there a second?
But Alderman Sean Gregory, he wanted to have this on debate because, well, that's big ticket
Mr. Chair, I
items.
still would like to request that this be placed on debate. I just have some follow-up questions, and I'm sure I will be able to have them answered by our next meeting.
Okay, pursuant to our rules, that is in order, and the chair will confirm that with our Corporation Counsel.
And it is. Anytime somebody wants something on debate, that supersedes putting it on the consent agenda. So we likely will hear more about that next week. Coming up, a lot more ordinances to tackle, including new business and some citizens addressing the council. Stay tuned. It's here with Springfield's Morning News. And the Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Head West Sub. We are in the throes of the Council Roundup with a lot of action last night at Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole. Council Roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. And don't forget about delivery, Head West Subs. All right, let's get back to it. Another ordinance up for consideration at last night's Committee of the Whole.
Professional services agreement with Sound Thinking Incorporated, formerly known as ShotSpotter Incorporated, for annual ShotSpotter subscription services, formerly known as Respond, for an annual amount of $290,063 and for a total amount of $870,188 over a 3-year period for the Springfield Police Department.
For consent.
Second.
So ShotSpotter is going to continue on in Springfield. So look out for that and how it's used by city police to crack down on where shots may be heard. It's a technology that has microphones essentially set up to be able to hear those things. Some pushback from other municipalities, in particular in Chicago, to this idea, but police swear by it, allowing them to better triangulate where shots are being fired. On to new business. Here is Alderman Chuck Redpath.
Last week we talked about fly dumping, and obviously the state's attorney heard about it, so talked to Corporation Counsel, and he was in touch with him, and if he would, please give us a report on your conversation with the state's attorney.
And if you recall last week, Redpath suggested the state's attorney get involved in fly dumping cases. The Corporation Counsel
Our office currently has 2 fly dumping cases open. We have not referred any for criminal prosecution. We are working on our procedure. Again, we're a civil ordinance violation. So if you fly dump and we investigate it, we have a different standard of proof that we have to meet, and we levy monetary fines. The state's attorney, if they are referred, his office will review the case and prosecute to any case that he believes he can meet the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt for the fly dumping. But again, we have not referred any. My office is working on procedures where if we have repeat offenders or the same violations, or if the violation is to such an extent where it rises to a criminal level, we will certainly refer them over to the state's attorney's office.
So again, the Corporation Counsel for the City of Springfield kind of laying out the path
just as a matter of clarity
for these types of cases where fly dumping is a problem. Do they get criminally referred out to the state's attorney's office? And that's something I think is very much in the minds of people as they see this as a chronic issue, but is it being taken care of appropriately? Well, there's multiple avenues. Administrative court with the city, and then if it becomes chronic, as somebody is a repeat offender, then it could get referred to the state's attorney's office. But as you heard, the Corporation Counsel said they have yet to forward any repeat offenders to the state's attorney's office. And the state's attorney's office, if they don't have that in front of them, they can't go forward and prosecute. So they have to have the right circumstantial evidence and all that, and the right facts in front of them to be able to go charge somebody with excessive fly dumping and being a repeat offender. So, yeah, that's an update from what we talked about last week. We'll actually revisit some of that coming up, but also Alderman Williams chiming in on some things, and then citizens addressing the council. So stay tuned. We got a lot more to get to here with Springfield's Morning News and the Council Roundup, brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. Don't forget about delivery, Head West Subs. And a shout out to the City of Springfield's AV crew, the audiovisual crew. They do an outstanding job streaming the Springfield City Council from multi-camera approach, so you can see the people, you can hear the people, you can see what they're discussing, and you can find all of that on the city's YouTube page, and also WMAY simulcast that on our YouTube page as well. So that's where we get all the video from when we do our Council Roundup. So big shout out to the Springfield AV crew. Thumbs up on that. All right, stay tuned. Much more. Back with the Council Roundup, brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. Their downtown location open for lunch. And don't forget about delivery, Head West Subs. All right, so earlier we had the appointment of former Alderwoman Krista DeCenso to help with the Liquor Commission, and no debate was had, really. But I imagine we're going to hear more debate as Alderman Roy Williams Jr. During new and unfinished business asked the Corporation Council for an update on a question he had about the timing of appointees who may have served as city officials.
I just wanted to remind Corporate Council I'm still waiting on some information on your opinion on the ordinance that I referred to dealing with time frames of appointments. I would like it before next Tuesday because we just moved it on to the debate, and I'm trying to just get some clarity. I did vote yes for debate. I'm nothing against the person being appointed. It's all about the rule and how that rule was applied to others. So I'm waiting. If you'll just send it to me, I appreciate it. So I'll have time to look at it before we have the debate next Tuesday. And then the second piece is, since the mayor's not up here, I guess the deputy mayor, I'm still waiting on some resume information or something. I just truly believe anytime we're paying somebody almost $100,000, we should see a resume. So if you could please look into that because I haven't received either yet.
So again, Roy Williams Jr., in a way, some grievances he has. He's not getting the information he's being requested of the administration. So I imagine we'll hear more of that as well. But back to the issue of fly dumping. Alderman Rockford had questions of how the city moves forward with possible criminal charges against people who do fly dump.
We were talking about repeat offenders. Now, are we going to set something up to where, if we get somebody coming back 3, 4, 5 times, are we going to set a limitation, or how are we going to proceed with presenting this to the state's attorney for criminal?
Yeah. So, again, Rockford asking the Corporation Council that question.
Our procedure on the civil side is it escalates for fines. It's $500 and then $1,000 for every subsequent violation. But certainly if there is evidence there and there is a repeat offender, we will refer it. We'll give the case file to the state's attorney's office, and then again, it's an independent determination on whether there's enough to prosecute criminally. But with repeat offenders, our process is going to be turn the file over.
And he also talked about how it's not just the state's attorney's office that could get involved in this. It's also the Illinois EPA as well. So I think there's going to be a lot more to come on how they go about enforcing repeat offenses of fly dumping. Let's get into a moment here from Alderman Hanauer, who's bringing up something that's been brought up before in the past, and that's tree trimming around utility lines in Springfield from a contractor that CWLP has. And here's Alderman Hanauer, who I think is getting an earful from some of his constituents.
This guy is not happy about how things were done. He said that they obliterated trees and around the power lines, and they, and we've all seen it. We got to get. We've all gotten. I think we've all gotten some heat over this. Something needs to change with it.
Again, we've heard this for years. This complaint, and he talks about how it might need to go to a contract.
It doesn't have to necessarily be trees on people's property. If they have a field, like a field or something in the back, they still rely on those trees. And you got a group come in and they just make the trees look bad. I just think we need to do something. We may have to really think about it when we vote on that $8 million bid, because they got to do a better job.
$8 million.
They're just like some of the other people. Nobody knows when they're coming. It seems like they just come through and with reckless abandon, and that's what we're left with. So
chop, chop, chop away. All right, let's hear about some upcoming events at the City Council with Alderwoman Purchase.
There is Betty with the opener of Unchained, and that's starting at 6 p.m. and
Levitt,
sponsored none
downtown at the Y Block.
It will be going on at 6 p.m. and fireworks will be taking off at 9:30 p.m. and we hope to see you all there. And just one more, Alderman Donnelly. We have the Springfield JC's Capital City Celebration, so lots of fireworks shows going on. And we also would like to invite you to bring your furry friends out. And we have a patriotic contest on Saturday at 6:45 p.m. But right before then, we have Capital Sound coming on stage at 2 p.m. and just waiting for the dust to settle, and we will have another fireworks show. So please come out and don't.
So you've got fireworks shows, live music with the Levitt concert series, including the local band Unchained. That's tonight. And then you've got a series of events coming up throughout the weekend for Independence Day. But Alderwoman Conley, of course, Independence Day comes with fireworks, even though the professional fireworks are sanctioned, but a lot of people go and buy fireworks from, say, Missouri, because you can't buy fireworks in Illinois except for like the sparks and the snaps and the snakes. But anyways, that's something else for another day. We may talk about that tomorrow. But Alderwoman Conley has concerns about fireworks in general.
One of the most consistent complaints I get in the summer is the level of stress that certain residents and their animal family members experience with excessive firework displays. Also, really a note of caution, it's extraordinarily dry right now. I don't know what that rain was that kind of blew by yesterday, but it did nothing. We're in a moderate drought, mild to moderate drought, which means that there's a lot of dead grass, or at least flammable. Things are blowing. Just ask people to really take that into consideration this year and practice a little restraint in setting off fireworks.
And that restraint also being encouraged by the fire chief, especially with as dry as it is.
So you brought up the fact that it's super dry out, and we have been monitoring fireworks. We've got several professional displays going on. Our biggest thing, our message has been leave it to the professionals. We are each day checking weather reports and all that to make sure that we can safely do these professional displays. We will have one more report with all of the shooters tomorrow before we make a decision. But do know that it is a possibility if we slip into drought conditions that we might have to cancel these professional displays, but we will keep everyone, the public, posted. So
thank you very much.
It is something that the shooters have had concern about, and other areas such as Champaign have already canceled their displays. So remind the public of that as well, because we do know that there are probably more public displays out there than professional displays. So please be fire conscious and have a good happy 4th of July.
Thank you.
Chief,
Happy
appreciate the
4th.
information.
So, keep an eye out for those conditions and how dry it's possibly going to be. I think that's important, especially if you're going to go out there and shoot off a bunch of fireworks. Meanwhile, I'm skipping over quite a bit here of the citizens addressing the council, because they had one there that was talking about a grant, another one that was discussing the Bourbon Street and projects that they were hoping to ultimately get done, and with cannabis tax dollars that go to local businesses that apply for it. So obviously there's some continued concern as to the timing. Bourbon Street wants to get their project done, but they're coming up against the clock. So you've got some concerns there, and just all the red tape that there is involved. But I wanted to get to this last bit here, because this is something I think shines some light on what happened at the last council meeting, where you had two alder people, Alderman Roy Williams Jr. and Alderwoman Lakeisha Purchase, go behind closed doors for whatever reason, because Lakeisha Purchase was up for a county commission spot, and apparently Roy Williams Jr. didn't like that idea. Well, they went behind closed doors to talk about something. Then they came out, still no indication of what that was, but maybe this provides a little bit of indication. Here is a citizen addressing the council.
Hilda Reyes.
So she gets up there and she starts talking about why she's there.
I'm here on the behalf of Mr. Gregory and Mr. Williams. Recently, last month, my son's car, his window got busted out. It took from 3 o'clock, time I got in touch with Lakeisha, to 5 o'clock in the morning to have a police report even written up.
So she names Lakeisha Purchase in this and continues to rail against the issue.
The abuse of the tenants got really bad, where I had to reach out to Sean Gregory. And we can't do much because it's owned by Lakeisha Purchase, which I've brought up to her many a times that I'm getting bothered. My unit's not even been fixed. I've been fighting this for 2 years.
So she complains about the unit. She also complained about police, said that there was abusive behavior there.
So, and I was currently brought that up with Mr. Sean and Mr. Williams Jr. about having something the kids can do, because not all mothers can afford, you know, just sending them off somewhere like day camps.
So, again, she goes on to address her concerns and alleging that Lakeisha Purchase is not taking care of business at a property that she owns. But then you get the police chief getting up there, and he addresses the accusations that the resident threw out, that police weren't treating her fairly.
Obviously, the men and women of the Springfield Police Department work extremely hard in what they do, and sometimes there does become a time when it takes a while for us to answer calls for service. Calls are based upon priorities and whatnot, so we can certainly look into that. I will say this is not the forum to make complaints against my men and women, and that we have proper chain. That's through internal affairs investigation, and I don't appreciate anyone coming and just lobbing out generic claims about disrespect. The good thing is that we have body cams that will certainly capture this particular encounter as well as any other encounter, and if we need to go about it through the proper change, which is internal affairs, then that's what we'll do.
So you also had Alderman Donnellan. He chimed in on some of these accusations of the property not being maintained.
We want to help you. I also understand that for the particular property that there is some management company involved. I would encourage you to contact them directly.
There is. But that only covers Lakeisha for what her responsibilities are.
Yeah.
You know, but if I'm the kind of person that, because I had this many years back with Donovan Bolts, he was the head DCFS person that lacked responsibility too.
Sure.
So again, a citizen addressing her grievances. Did that have something to do with last week when Williams Jr. took Lakeisha Purchase behind closed doors? Is this just the first we're going to hear of what could be, whatever the motivation is, attacks against Purchase? We shall see. But Alderman Donnellan, the chair of last night's Committee of the Whole, wrapping up the meeting and making sure that everybody knows what the schedule is.
Thank you. Just a reminder for everyone, we love seeing each other, I'm sure, on Tuesday nights, but next week is Independence Day, so our meeting has been moved to Wednesday the 5th. And on that note, I wish everybody a happy and safe Independence Day holiday. Hope you enjoy time with your family and friends. Is there a motion to adjourn?
And a motion to adjourn accepted. That's your council roundup from last night's Springfield City Council Committee of the Whole, with Springfield's morning news on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk, and the council roundup brought to you by Head West Subs. When you want a great sub, you've got to head west. All right. Hopefully you are staying informed with the council roundup each and every Wednesday.